In the quiet chambers of ancient temples, among the flickering oil lamps and the scent of burning myrrh, a question whispered through the ages still lingers. What does it mean to be both wise and fierce, serene and unyielding? In the heart of Greek lore, there exists a figure who defies all dualities, a divine embodiment of the warrior's mind and the sage's heart. She is Athena, goddess of wisdom, war, strategy, and civilization. But she is far more than a myth. She is an archetype, a symbol, and for those who seek the deeper mysteries of life, she is a living presence within the soul. Athena was not born in the usual way. No gentle womb, no cradle songs. She erupted from the head of Zeus, fully armored, with a war cry that shook the heavens. This myth is no accident. It is a cryptic code, a spiritual metaphor. For Athena's birth from the mind of the king of gods is the soul's awakening through consciousness. She is the sword of clarity forged in the fires of thought, and the shield of wisdom that guards against chaos. She is not merely a goddess of war. She is the strategy behind the war, the intelligence within the strength, the ethics beneath the conquest. In every era of human history, the clash between raw power and conscious wisdom has played out again and again. But in Athena, these forces unite. She teaches us that true strength is not brutality, but discipline, that true wisdom is not passivity, but discernment, and that the mind, when harmonized with purpose, becomes the most sacred weapon of all. In this video, we will journey deep into the mysteries of Athena, not as a dusty relic of mythology, but as a living key to personal mastery and spiritual awakening. We'll explore her origins, decode her symbolism, and uncover the hidden teachings she offers to those bold enough to seek them. We will walk the corridors of ancient philosophy and the battlegrounds of the inner self. And by the end, you will not just know Athena, you will begin to become her. Are you ready to awaken the warrior sage within? To understand Athena is to step into a realm where mythology and mysticism weave into the fabric of philosophy, where gods are not merely deities but mirrors of the human soul and cosmic principles. In ancient Greece, mythology was not entertainment, it was initiation. Every god was a cipher, every myth a spiritual map. And among all the Olympians, Athena stood apart, not just in power but in essence. The earliest known writings that reference Athena date back to the Linear B tablets of the Mycenaean era, over 3,000 years ago. Even then, she was associated with protective strength and civic order. But it was in the classical age, through the works of Homer, Hesiod, Pindar, and Plato, that her image crystallized into one of the most enigmatic and revered deities of the ancient world. In the Iliad, Athena is the voice of clarity in the chaos of war. She advises heroes, tempers their rage, and grants victory not through brute force, but through strategy, timing, and foresight. She does not relish war, she governs it. Where Ares, the god of war, represents unrestrained violence, Athena is the discipline behind the blade, the moral compass amid destruction. She is war elevated to wisdom, conflict transformed into cosmic balance. The philosopher Socrates often spoke of his inner daimon, a guiding voice that steered him away from folly. Though not named, this inner voice echoes the archetype of Athena, the voice of inner clarity, the guiding principle of discernment. In Plato's Republic, the concept of the philosopher king reflects Athena's essence, the idea that rulers must not only be strong but also wise, their power tethered to justice and reason. In esoteric traditions, Athena becomes even more profound. To the Neoplatonists, she represented nous, the divine intellect, the spark of higher consciousness within man. Her birth from Zeus's forehead was interpreted not as myth, but as the symbolic emergence of divine wisdom from the mind of ultimate being. She is the logos clothed in armor, divine reason taking form to combat the ignorance that enslaves the soul. Athena's owl, often mischaracterized as a simple symbol of wisdom, held deeper layers of meaning. The owl is a nocturnal seer, able to pierce the darkness and see what others cannot. In mystery schools, this represented the initiate, the one who, through inner vision and contemplation, could perceive hidden truths that remain veiled to the unawakened. Athena also carries the aegis, a shield with the head of Medusa, another layered symbol. Medusa, the monstrous feminine, represents chaos, fear, and untamed power. Athena does not destroy it, she integrates it. She places it on her shield, using the very forces of darkness as a source of protection. This act reveals an ancient esoteric teaching, that wisdom is not the denial of darkness, but its transcendence. True spiritual power comes not from avoiding fear, but from facing it and transforming it into strength. And then, there is her virginity, not a physical attribute, but a spiritual condition. Athena's virginity signifies her sovereignty. She belongs to no one. She is complete within herself, a self-generating flame of clarity and will. In a world where divinity was often linked to union or offspring, Athena stood as a singular force, independent, integrated, whole. Through temples like the Parthenon, the ancients honored not just a goddess, but an ideal. They built not only in marble and limestone, but in intention and reverence. These were not places of worship alone. They were energetic focal points, centers of initiation where seekers were reminded that the highest power lies not in domination, but in wisdom harmonized with action. So when we invoke Athena today, we are not calling upon a forgotten deity. We are awakening an eternal archetype that lives in the sacred architecture of the psyche. A force that teaches us to wield the sword of discernment, to carry the shield of inner mastery, and to walk through life not as wanderers, but as warrior sages. To invoke Athena is to summon a forgotten part of yourself, the part that stands unmoved in the face of chaos, the part that thinks with precision and acts with integrity. She is not merely a goddess to be admired. She is an inner blueprint, a sacred pattern inscribed within the soul of every seeker who dares to unite strength with wisdom. In this part of our journey, we begin to unravel the first layers of her core teachings, not as abstract ideals, but as living energies within. Imagine yourself standing at the gates of a sacred city, Athens, the city named in her honor. But this city is not made of stone and dust, it is the fortress of your own mind. At its center is the Parthenon, a temple not of worship, but of mastery. Athena stands at its heart, not as a statue, but as a presence. She waits for you, not to kneel, but to awaken. Athena represents the conscious mind at its highest form, nous, as the ancient Greeks called it, the divine intelligence that bridges heaven and earth. Where instinct is raw and emotional, and logic is cold and detached, nous is the third path, illuminated reason, insight that sees both the forest and the tree. This is the mind that meditates before it strikes, the strategist that feels without being ruled by feelings. In mythology, Athena was always calm in the storm of battle. She guided Odysseus, not because he was the strongest, but because he was the most cunning, the most mentally agile. She stood beside Perseus, not to slay for him, but to offer the tools he would need to face the monstrous Medusa, a reflection of our own inner demons. She did not intervene randomly. She appeared to those who were ready to think clearly and act decisively. This is one of her core teachings. Wisdom must lead strength. Power without insight becomes destruction, but insight without the courage to act is impotence. The true initiate walks between these extremes, harmonizing inner knowing with outer doing. To understand this, consider the sword and the shield, Athena's most iconic symbols. The sword is willpower, decision, action. It cuts through illusion, it severs ties to delusion. But a sword without a shield is reckless. The shield represents discernment, patience, defense of what is sacred. In every moment of life, we are asked, do I act or wait? Do I speak or listen? Do I attack or protect? Athena whispers not the answer, but the clarity to know the answer. This balance can be seen in the chakras of the human body, especially in the solar plexus and the third eye. The solar plexus, the fire center of will, is the seat of action, control, and assertiveness. The third eye, the center of inner vision, reveals truth, perspective, and foresight. When these two are in harmony, we become like Athena, able to see clearly and act rightly. But when the third eye is clouded, the will acts blindly. And when the solar plexus is weak, vision never manifests into reality. Athena's presence also calls us to the realm of inner warfare. This is not the war of nations, but the war of the self against the self. It is the daily battle between our higher calling and lower urges, between discipline and distraction, between courage and comfort. In this war, the enemy is not outside, it wears our face. And Athena offers the sacred tools to fight it: strategy, discipline, and self-knowledge. She teaches us that wisdom is not passively received, it is forged. Like armor beaten on the anvil of experience, wisdom arises from questioning, observing, and enduring. It comes to those who reflect in silence as much as they speak in certainty. And strength, she shows us, is not the loud roar, but the steady heartbeat beneath the chaos. In this first layer of her essence, Athena calls us to become sovereign over our own minds, masters of our choices, and guardians of our inner temple. She reminds us that true power is not found in dominance over others, but in the disciplined integration of our own being. When you pause before speaking, when you act with both courage and care, when you seek truth not for control, but for understanding, you walk the path of Athena. Athena's mystery deepens the more we gaze into her myth. She is no mere guardian of civilization or goddess of battle strategy. She is the embodied paradox. In her, opposites do not cancel each other. They converge into a new, higher harmony. To know her truly, we must go beyond the surface myths and decode the symbolic architecture of her being. Let us begin with her epithet, Pallas Athena. The name, Pallas, has long intrigued scholars and mystics alike. According to one version of the myth, Pallas was a childhood friend or rival whom Athena accidentally killed during a sparring match. In her grief, she adopted the name as a gesture of remembrance. In another version, she slays a monstrous giant named Pallas and takes his skin to fashion her aegis. But beneath both tales lies the same theme. Athena overcomes her own shadow. To become truly wise, one must confront what is wild, impulsive, or undisciplined within. Wisdom is not born from denial, it is born from integration. Athena wears the skin of her conquered shadow not to boast, but to remind us that which once threatened to destroy you can become your greatest protection. And then we come to Medusa, perhaps the most misread symbol in her arsenal. Medusa, the Gorgon with serpents for hair, whose gaze turned men to stone, is usually cast as a villain. But in older traditions, Medusa was not a monster, but a sacred guardian of feminine power, untamed, primal, and fierce. Athena does not kill this force, she wields it. The severed head placed on her shield is not an act of domination, it is a sacred synthesis. The dark feminine energy is not annihilated, it is reclaimed and redirected. This reveals a core esoteric truth. Enlightenment is not light alone, it is the ability to walk through darkness unshaken. Athena's shield, adorned with the face of fear itself, reflects this path. When we carry our fear consciously, when we wear it as a badge of having faced the abyss, we become untouchable. Now look deeper at her armor. Athena wears the helmet, not always in battle, but even in council. Why? Because the helmet guards the mind. In spiritual terms, this is not about preparing for physical combat, it is about maintaining mental clarity in a world of illusions. The initiate, like Athena, must learn to shield their thoughts from distraction, manipulation, and emotional chaos. The helmet is the silence between thoughts, the alertness that cuts through mental fog. And what of her spear? The spear is the focused intent. Unlike the sword, which cuts, the spear pierces. It is the point of concentration that allows an idea to manifest into form. Mystics have long taught that what we focus on with clarity and emotional alignment becomes reality. Athena's spear is that law in action, the spiritual technology of focus, aim, and release. In Greek lore, Athena was also the patron of crafts, especially weaving. To the casual observer, this seems unrelated to war or wisdom, but weaving is another metaphor, the art of patterning reality. The loom is the mind, the thread is thought, and the tapestry is your life. Every day, we weave beliefs, intentions, and actions into the fabric of our existence. Athena, as the divine weaver, teaches us to pattern our reality with precision, beauty, and foresight. In the deeper mystical traditions, Athena's virginity is not about celibacy, it is the sacred autonomy of the awakened soul. She belongs to no one because she is whole. She is not half of a duality, she is the totality. This is the ultimate teaching of Athena. You are the temple and the flame, the seeker and the sword, the question and the answer. Her power lies in her inner completeness. To embody Athena is to become sovereign, spiritually self-sustained, unmoved by flattery, immune to fear, devoted not to egoic conquest, but to the triumph of truth. And thus, in her paradoxes, her weapons, her crafts, and her myth, Athena reveals the sacred path of the warrior sage. She does not ask for worship, she calls for embodiment. In a world split between mind and body, male and female, thought and emotion, Athena is the alchemical bridge. To walk her path is to wield the spear of purpose, to don the helmet of clarity, to bear the shield of integration, and to weave the world not from reaction, but from realization. To know Athena is not to merely admire her from afar, carved in marble or bound in myth, it is to become her in moments of choice, stillness, and challenge. Ancient teachings were never meant for the intellect alone. They were maps for transformation, blueprints for alchemical rebirth. Athena is an archetype that waits not in temples, but in moments. Moments when clarity must cut through chaos, when stillness must birth strength. So how do we walk with Athena in the modern world? First, begin with the helmet of mental sovereignty. In a world constantly vying for your attention, your first battlefield is the mind. Athena teaches vigilance. Each morning, before stepping into your day, create a space of inner clarity. One simple practice is mental armoring. Sit for 5 minutes, spine straight, eyes closed. Visualize a radiant golden helmet forming around your head. This is not a wall, it is a filter. With each breath, affirm silently, only truth may enter, only clarity remains. This ritual trains the mind to resist distractions, lies, and emotional fog. Next, wield the spear of focused intention. Too often, we scatter our energies across 1,000 thoughts, tasks, and worries. Athena calls us to focused will. Choose one goal, just one. It may be an emotional breakthrough, a creative project, a new habit. Write it clearly. Then, each day, for 10 minutes, visualize yourself achieving it. See the path, feel the outcome. Drive your awareness into that reality like a spear piercing the void. This isn't wishful thinking, it's energetic alignment. What the mind holds clearly, the world begins to echo. But no warrior walks unprotected. You must also raise the shield of discernment. This means knowing when to act, and when not to. Practice the art of sacred pause. When emotion floods in, anger, fear, desire, stop. Take 3 breaths. Ask yourself, is this reaction aligned with who I am becoming? Athena is not hasty. Her power is rooted in still discernment. This pause creates space for wisdom to rise. Now consider her role as the weaver. To walk with Athena is to become conscious of the threads you spin daily. Your words, your routines, your relationships. Begin a tapestry journal. Each evening, write 3 choices you made that day. Reflect. Did they add coherence or chaos to your inner world? This cultivates awareness of the patterns you are creating, deliberately or unconsciously. As Athena wove fate into form, so too must you weave your destiny with intention. You must also confront your inner Medusa. That part of you that paralyzes growth through fear, shame, or past wounds. One of the most sacred practices in Athena's temple is integration through symbolic shielding. On a blank page, draw the face of your inner fear, not as you wish to see it, but as it truly feels. Give it form. Then, write a statement of power beneath it. I do not fight you. I carry you. You are my shield, not my shackle. This act transforms shadow into sacred armor. And finally, honor Athena's virginity, not in body, but in energetic sovereignty. To live as Athena means to reclaim your time, your focus, your values. Practice saying no, lovingly, but firmly. Protect your inner temple. Every time you prioritize your truth over approval, your path over people-pleasing, you invoke her spirit. You stand complete within yourself. But beware, this path is not without resistance. Doubts will arise. Old habits will return. You may be tempted to retreat into comfort or confusion. When that happens, return to the symbols, the helmet, the spear, the shield. Visualize her beside you, not as a myth, but as your reflection. You are not alone. Athena lives in every breath of courage, every choice of truth, every moment of fierce, luminous presence. Remember, wisdom is not knowing everything. It is knowing what matters. Strength is not domination. It is the stillness beneath the storm. The more you live from that space, the more her spirit walks with you. In the echo of ancient hymns and the silence between battles, Athena's wisdom still speaks, if we are still enough to hear. She is the goddess not of war, but of just war, not of knowledge, but of integrated knowing. She does not demand blind worship, she invites conscious embodiment. And now, dear seeker, the question is no longer, who is Athena? But rather, where is she within you? She lives in the moment you pause before reacting, in the breath you take to find clarity before making a hard decision. She is there when you speak truth, not to wound, but to liberate. When you stand firm in your values, yet listen deeply to others. Every act of self-mastery, every choice to weave your life with purpose and precision, is a prayer to her altar. Through the myths, we discovered her symbols, the helmet of discernment, the spear of focused will, the shield of integrated shadow, and the loom of conscious creation. But these are not relics of the past. They are tools for now. She is not a goddess trapped in time. She is an eternal archetype, ready to awaken in every soul who chooses clarity over chaos, purpose over passivity, strength balanced with serenity. And so, as we close this journey, let this truth resonate deep in your spirit. You are not a bystander in your story. You are both the weaver and the warrior, the strategy and the stillness, the battle and the blessing. Athena does not descend to guide the unready. She rises within those who choose to walk the narrow path between thought and action, mind and heart, power and peace. If this video sparked something within you, an insight, a remembrance, a flicker of your own hidden power, then honor that flame. Like this video if it lit a torch in your mind. Share it with those who walk the same path, who seek truth and strength in equal measure. And subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the ancient, the esoteric, and the eternal. Your presence here is not an accident, it is an echo of the wisdom calling you home. Thank you for watching, and may the light of Athena walk with you, always.